Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone. Today with my new friend, Roland Walters. Hi, Roland.
Hello.
I'm so
Hi.
excited to have you here today and to introduce everyone to your work. I was introduced to you at the IONS, International Association for Near-Death Studies event that was at the end of August, first part of September in DC, because you were an exhibitor and I was in charge of the exhibitor booth. And I right away had a healing with you the very first. I like dropped everything and got a healing with you. So let's talk first, and I'll be glad to share about that. But let's talk first about how your evolution of this knowledge about your healing modality started. And I know you you had a near-death experience. You really don't want to go there, but do you think you got superpowers from it?
Superpowers? No. But considering that it happened when I was 4.5, I think it just kind of kept me in the awareness that there was something else there. Even though, I didn't grow up in a spiritual environment nor really a religious environment, but it was just that it was always just that feeling there was something else. There was just, or I could feel these energies and just really couldn't talk to anybody about it. Or if I said something, they were thought I was just making stuff up, especially as a kid. But the knowledge of the NDE was basically forgotten until a handful of years ago, and it was all brought back to me through a hypnotherapy session. And what it ended up being was the NDE bringing back that time, I think, was just telling me I was on the right path. I was on the right direction. So, and that direction is to help people with their looking within, looking and seeing and knowing that they have a soul, that they're connected to everything, that that we have everything we need. But yeah, the getting to where I'm at, it wasn't like I had a spiritual background family, but I always had the interest, I always had a really strong interest. And I found out when I was 19 that I was a second generation healer. Well, had the potential to be, let's say it that at that time, because my grandmother did an energy work called talking out the fire.
Oh.
And I didn't know about it. And it was one of these things where I found out about it after my grandmother was fully into Alzheimer's and didn't remember any of it. But I was told by my mother that it was supposed to be passed down, but skip a generation. So it skipped hers, and it had to go from a female to a male, and then back to a female. It was supposed to be altering. And so it was supposed to go to either my oldest brother or one of the brothers or me. And my oldest brother didn't want it. My other brother didn't want it. But by the time I got a chance to make that choice, she was with Alzheimer's. So I never learned any of that. And it
Wow.
didn't get passed down.
So is it a known modality that other people do? So is there a community that does that type of healing?
Well, I don't know if there's a community or not, but I do have a friend who lives in Raleigh who's from Georgia, and he has a family member that does it. And as a matter of fact, when we got talking, I was telling him about this. He was telling me about his family member doing it. I think it's like an aunt or a great aunt, and it's the exact same thing.
Wow.
And so we were both blown away because didn't know each other. Our families don't know each other, completely different backgrounds, and he knew about it.
Perfect.
So it is out there.
Okay.
And it's this thing where they say it has to skip a generation and go down within the family, because my grandmother got it from an uncle of hers, I think it was.
Wow.
And so it has to go from one to the other. But So anyway, I
Wow.
just remember at 19, kind of like, why, why did y'all tell me before? But they, basically saying you need to be like a certain age, and she'd already been in Alzheimer's since I was like 12. So it was, she didn't remember any of it.
Wow. Well, and the
Uh,
fact that your mother knew and could tell you was really helpful because otherwise you would have just been, well, you did. You created your own into the light method of healing that's what it's not a school, it's a process, correct?
it is a process, yeah. It is. It's not a school. It's not a particular modality. It's just, it's just this knowing that I believe, not think, I know and believe we all have. It's just opening that up. It's awareness. It is, just the awareness. So, but yeah, me is, I still really didn't have that. I mean, people to talk to about this. Like I hear a lot of people talking about. I don't have anybody to talk about to this about and stuff. But fortunately, that community is growing a lot. But it wasn't until my daughter was 4.5, 5 months of age when she had a major health issue and ended up in the hospital and on life support, um, that everything got kind of kicked into gear. I mean, I always felt stuff, always felt energies in my hand and felt energies around people, or just would be in a place that, like nature or something, it would just be this overwhelming amount of energy that other people were like, no, I don't feel anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I remember 25 years or so ago going to Sedona and just going to one of the couple of vortexes. It was just like overwhelming. And there was friends with us. They were like, I don't feel a thing. And it's like, this is a lot. But the story of my daughter, Shayla, like I said, 4.5, 5 months of age, essentially had a heart attack and was in there going to have surgeries and stuff. But she had a little bitty child, and she had a bowl of energy over her chest. And they had, cut open her chest and stuff. I had a bowl of energy over her chest. And at the time, I didn't know what to do with it. But if I tried to touch her chest, that bowl of energy would like stop me. And if I pushed on it, and she was completely unconscious, but if I pushed on it, she would jump. And all I was trying to do is see if she was warm or not, because she was completely uncovered and the lights are on her and stuff in the hospital. And the hospital was cold. And I remember leaving that night. It's like, okay, I got to do something with this. I don't know what that. I mean, that was just like a sign. I got to do something with this. And it was just this. It's just perfect little, like you took a bowl literally and put it over her chest, like you don't touch. But I understand now what it was supposed to do is I was supposed to pull that energy away, help her in the healing process. And I didn't know, but I was just at the time like, I got to do something. So that's what kicked in my search, and that was 15 years ago.
Wow, wow. So I had a healing with you, and what I did was I since I was in high school, I've had trouble with my sinuses, and you can kind of hear my funny voice from it. And yeah, I went straight to you and said, okay, fix fix my sinuses. Little did I know I would end up crying. And but I felt so much better. It was amazing afterwards. And what you had me realize was I was carrying some energy from my father. It wasn't necessarily it was not what I expected. I expected you to do something and change the energy in around my eyes, and it would just drain and I'd be all better and I'd go back to my station and I'd be good. And little did I know that I'd be uncovering an emotion that was holding that in place. And then you helped me release the emotion. And what was interesting is somebody came up to me because I kept recommending you after I had this wonderful
Yeah.
experience because I got so much relief. Um, and somebody came up to me and said, "Why are people always crying over there?" And I said, "It's really good. Don't worry about it. It's really good. It's perfect. So you obviously tap into trapped emotions. So are you an empath as well? Are you actually feeling what I feel when I'm sitting with you? And that's how you can determine what energy stuck and where it is?
So yeah, to answer your question, I am an empath, but I also believe we all are to a degree. And, to how much of a degree, I don't know, but the, I've always, as I said before, always felt stuff. So when somebody sits across from me now, or even if I'm on the phone and they're 2,000, 4,000 miles away, it doesn't matter. Once, we open that channel, that connection, I generally start feeling something wherever you are feeling it. So like with you, I can feel the pressure up in the head. I don't feel it to the degree the other person does, but and the more I delve into it, in other words, I start feeling whether it be the energy in the shoulders or the chest or the abdomen, or even if it's in, a limb like a leg or arm. And essentially what I take from that is spirit is saying, or your soul is saying, here, this is here. And I've come to learn that the emotions, lower vibrational emotions, sadness, fear, anything like that, anger, is being stored there, and it's affecting, the way I feel it is, it's affecting how your body's vibrating, and it can't function like it's supposed to. So therefore, sinuses, where I get across people that have it in the throats a lot, they're constantly shoulder pains or different things, or, anything within the body, all through the organs. And even if people don't tell me about the physical, like you were saying with the sinuses, usually if I end up asking them, all right, do you often have something here? Some of them will go, not really, and then they'll come back like, no, that's not true. I usually deal with this and this there. And it is emotional.
Yeah.
I could have done what you said, like a lot of people working with energy, but have been very temporary, very, very temporary.
Right.
Whereas if we want to raise our vibrations, we have to, and to be more aware and to truly heal, we got to let go of that baggage.
So do you find that most of the time it is a trauma or an emotional item from your 0 to 7 years old, that period where you were so impressionable? Is that usually where most people's ailments or chronic illnesses come from? Is it from trauma and the memory of that?
I do believe it's in the trauma, but I would even push it more to age 12. Still within childhood, because sometimes it's actually the trauma is reoccurring from 5 through 12, and then it's like after that age, the kids are starting to push back more, and they're starting to resist or, close out things. But yeah, it is in childhood. And I'll tell you, one of the things that led me to that was I was doing emotional work, and somewhat based off of what I'd learned through shamanism, but it was still in my own style and things. I was taking some of the information for what was called an illumination through Peruvian shamanism. But one day I was working with a client, that's many years ago now, and nothing was moving the energy. She was in another part of the country. The energy just wasn't moving. So I'm on the phone with her, and I'm getting kind of frustrated. I don't understand why the energy's not moving. And she's talking about an event, but she's not really getting emotional either. So she's not feeling the emotions. And all of a sudden, I couldn't hear her, and I thought there was something wrong with my headphones. At the time, I was using a different kind of headset. And it's like, I thought it was a technical problem. And I see it was still connected. And I always do this work even though I'm in my own space with my eyes closed, and then off to the side, just in front of me, like this smoky gray black blob appears in front of me. And at first it made me jump back because I wasn't expecting this. And then, but I just kept watching it because it wasn't doing anything. It was just kind of like, literally it's like this big. And it was just kind of moving around in front of me. And then in that same image, in the same moment, there was a hand that comes out towards this smoky blob, and it looks like a lady's hand up to the elbow. And then all of a sudden it goes quickly into this black smoky blob. And you can see when you squeeze your hand, the tendons tighten up in your arm. So you squeeze it, grab something, and when it came and it pulled back out, and it's holding a round black ball.
Huh.
And it squeezes it, and it puts into, black dust actually, and just falls down to the ground. And in that immediate moment, I hear, "Go to the core, go to the core." And it's like at that moment, as soon as I heard that, I knew what I had to do with this person. And I stopped her, and she was actually a little upset with me stopping her. And when I shifted gears and I had her go back to childhood, and bam, it came up. Wow. What she was trying to address from at the time when we first got started was just another layer of what she dealt with as a childhood. And when she started that, she started crying, all the emotions started coming up, and it was just all this major, I could feel the energy of wherever it was in her body. I don't remember now. I just can remember it was coming off, it was getting lighter. So that was a massive change in my work when I got that message, because it took me back to what needed to do to tap into this.
So do you find that when you're working with people, do you find that there's attachments, entities, other beings that are attached to them at all? Or is it always their core issue that's causing it?
Well, I'm going to answer that in two ways. One is yes, but two is, the second question is yes. So what I mean with that is sometimes I do come across where people have picked up other energies. We call them attachments, entities, beings, whatever. And most of the time it's not harmful or anything. They're just there. But the thing is, just by being there, you're feeling and tapping into their energies, and it's throwing your whole system off. The question goes to is why? Why is something there? Because if you're vibrating where essentially we should be, it won't be there. So that's another part in working with different clients. I've worked with some clients, many clients with attachments. And I used to do lots of clearings for people. And at one time, and it's not an area that I want to do, but it's just like once people started telling, I started getting more and more people, and it was just getting too much for a while. But there were a bunch of people that was calling me like every month or every week or every few weeks or whatever, and just constant clearing. And it's just like, this is nuts, this is crazy. I don't want to keep doing all this. And then finally it was just like, why is this happening? And I just kept asking why it was happening. And then it came back. I got essentially in a rough way, got the message. It's like, you're just not going far enough with it. You're not pursuing it. And it hit me. It's like, okay, because they're vibrating too low. And they're vibrating too low because of the traumas they're carrying. You get rid of the traumas, the vibration rises, and these things, these attachments aren't bad. We just lower our vibration. The way I feel it, the way I see it, is we lower our vibration and we go into their space. It's not like they're evil or anything. We just went into their space, their realm. So all we're supposed to do is get ourselves back up out of it. And then it's not an issue. So yeah, it's around. And if you think about it, some of these, like even like the lost souls, the reason why they didn't pass, cross over, or however you want to see it, is because of their own traumas, their own fears, their own worries and things like that, that's held them to this plane, to this, So answer your question is yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Well, I know that you do sense the other person's energy, emotions, so that you can help them come to the realization, because somehow we don't see our own stuff. Everyone else can see it, but we can't see it. So do you have to clear yourself after you work with somebody? Do you find that you need to have a process to make sure that you that that's complete and sealed to go on to the next part of your day?
No, actually, I used to think I needed to, and I used to actually go through something like that. But Kathy, I'll tell you, part of that is, I'm gonna just say it's fear-based. And if I'm working from any part of fear-based, I'm lowering my vibration.
Right.
I used to work with a lot of people. I mean, I worked with a lot of people on setting up things for protection. And it was another one of those things. One day I just got the feeling, or, I guess you say the message, whatever, like, it's fear-based, stop, just stop. And then I stopped. And so and then that allowed me to actually delve more into working with the client. And that sets that when we're both done, we're coming off of a high. So I know my vibration's higher. So if anything was going to be there, it was going to be forced to leave. When I was working with fear-based and I was setting up all this stuff and trying to do protections, I was always on the edge of like, no, this may happen. I got to be prepared for it.
Right,
and it's
right.
like, stop doing that.
That's a perfect recipe for right now, where there's so many things in the media and in the field that are chaotic, that that divine focus of, no, I'm working from a different aspect, is really an important skill. I think it's really an important skill right now. Because we can get wrapped up in the drama, trauma that is everywhere, instead of what we want to create.
Yeah, I agree. It's, everything is so fear-based. It's from the information it's given us, and all our doubts, and then you take our fear, this fear-based information is coming to us because somebody else's fear, somebody else's, and that's how they report something, or that's how they, share something, or they talk. And, it's not the true you. It's not. That's a learned habit. That's a learned thing. And it's the ego jumping on what you're carrying. And the ego is not a problem. It's just you're feeling that. So it's like, let's use that. I mean, if that's what they're doing, that's what, but if you switch it around, the ego uses the positive too. It changes it. So am I still working on all this for me? Oh yeah. And I will be for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, we have to remind ourselves that, hey, we're creating all of this, and what do we want to create today? I mean, that's the thing. So
Yeah.
so I wanted to ask and have you share, if you would, about your logo, the beautiful triangle with the I am in it. Could you share a little bit about the evolution of that? And then after that, I want to show your website. So, okay.
Sure. Yeah, the I am, it's in the triangle, and essentially that came to me in meditation. The first time it was more of a shamanic journeying, when I had in the process of studying some shamanism stuff, and it just came as a triangle. And then the next time it wasn't meditation, it was just an empty triangle. And then, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe more, I don't know, years ago, that image came to me that you see behind me. I was sitting in a meditation in a dark, completely dark space, and so my eyes are closed, and that image right there, which I've adjusted and tried to get it as close as I can remember to, came from my left side, just slowly came into me and stopped about, a foot from my face, and was just, all the waves, it looks like electric waves in the picture, was just pulsing energy. It was amazing. And Kathy, I don't know really what happened, but it faded back. But what I mean, what happened is, I don't know if I was just busy with my daughter because we really had our hands full. She was fully disabled after her emergency and took full care. So I don't know if just a lot going on, but usually something like that, I'll write it down. And I didn't. Well, I don't know how long later, if it was a couple of weeks or a couple of months, I don't know, but it came back. And it came back a little faster, but I still didn't write anything down. Well, then it came back a third time and it tried to knock me over. I mean, it came like just really fast. I remember, I'm sitting there in the dark, but I jumped back, and that's when I got up and started drawing. And it's I've through different people, trying to graphic designers trying to help me get it way it truly was. But this where it's at right now is where it is. And but Kathy, that whole I am, when I first, even though I drew it out, I didn't fully accept it because I had the old Christian background of I am that I am, and Jesus saying I am the way. And I remember thinking just in this Baptist belt area and all the Baptist families, and all my family is all Baptist, some form Methodist and what have you. Like I can't use that. And it took me, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years to accept it. And I finally put it on my site and different things as the logo, and I've had nobody question it.
No, of course not.
Nobody question it. But I also will tell you, I also for a couple of years after that was using it as just trying to get people to say like affirmation statements. I didn't realize for 2 years that I still didn't have it right, and they just kept coming back at me, and it was no, you as I are the same, we're equal, and you have the I am presence within you as I do. It is the oneness, it is the divine, it is, and we are, I am, you are, I am. It just, so that's what it meant.
I love that. I took a series of classes called Avatar. It was way before the movie. It's a series by a guy named Harry Palmer, and it's based out of Florida. And there's one of the first classes, they have a thing called source list. And it's like 8 statements that you say, and one of them is I am source. And people have so much trouble. I mean, they told a story that one person took them 8 hours to get through those those statements because no, I can connect with it. But when you claim that you are it, that's a whole nother thing, because then there's no responsibility. You're not a victim of anything. The responsibility for everything in your life, in your world, comes back to you because you created it, even unconsciously, from your unconscious. But eventually, I think that's what we're doing right now with global consciousness. Right now is clearing those shadows, those traumas, and the obstacles to being more aligned with that I am. And we don't know what we don't know, that just like you said, that you're still learning, and I love that. I mean, that's why we're here, really, is to keep learning and growing and experiencing and being in service to the all. So yeah, I love that. Well, so did you ever feel like it went into you, like it not only it came to you and kept showing you the I am triangle, but did it ever go to your heart or embody in you?
No, it didn't. But Kathy, I think I have to say it's because it's already there. It's so between the work that I do and even with the group work like the energy cascades, the feeling and everything I just keep getting, and the direction I keep getting is getting people to look within, and but part of the work with like the individual sessions is we can't see that light within us because we got all the layers of pain. Even though there's like, oh, I'll release that, I'll release that. I've had so many people, so many scenarios where they've come to me and, I've talked to them about something in childhood and I'm like, oh yeah, but I'm done with that. And after we touch base with it, and as soon as they start feeling it, it's like, no, you're not done with it. You can still feel it. And then I usually hear afterwards, like, I had no idea I was still carrying that. I thought I
Well,
was long done with it.
that's what I said to you. That's what when we identified that it was something with my father, it's like, oh my God, I felt like how many layers of the onion can there be? My goodness. But it was instantaneous, whatever that essence wanted to be revealed, and it wanted to be released. And you knew exactly how to do it. And really it was like 15 minutes, maybe you did more, but that realization of what was trapped energy and where it was and what it was, and you helped me identify it. I wouldn't have known what it was. I just knew my sinuses were bothering me, I wanted relief. But it was amazing, really, Roland. I mean, how quick you were able to do that. So that's why I was asking about the participation of the other person. Actually, you're able to see them fully in a different way than most people can. It's energetic, but it's more than that. It's somehow geared towards your emotional body and the stuck energy in your emotional body, right?
It is, Kathy, I also will share that beyond what our emotional energy is stuck, we've got a couple other layers that we can potentially deal with. And one is how much emotional baggage you're carrying from somebody else, specifically mom, dad, grandmother, older siblings, that had a hard time and we took on. And we, even today, as fully mature adults, we can take on. But that stuff right there, when we take it on as a kid, we accept it as ours at that time, and it's not. Whereas now, as an adult, you realize, okay, I'm agitated because I've been around a person who's just agitated. As a kid, we start thinking, oh, I'm just agitated too. I'm just like my dad, or I'm just like my mom, and it's not you. So that's another layer has to come off. But through what I've learned through a lot of clients who've done a numerous amount of releasing, a numerous amount of work, that will still be feeling things. Some very intuitive, very empathic people. A lot of them that are already doing lots of energy work, just kept saying, well, I keep feeling this, and I'll just say anger. Well, I keep feeling this anger. And it turned out to be anger on a soul level. And I'm seeing it, and I'm coming to realize it more and more, especially the more empathic the person is. They're actually feeling from those other life experiences. And some of them that are so heavy from another experience is sitting in there with them in the energy as the soul is there. So, but going back to what you were saying as far as me sitting across from somebody and being able to recognize it, honestly, I don't really understand. I don't understand how it works. I mean, I'm not really doing anything. It's just I sit across from you, and then I just start feeling. And it's something about the connection between us, and I do try to see you, not Kathy, but you. It's just like, and just work from that point. But it just starts coming up, and whatever you on your mind want to get rid of, that true self of you is like, no, here's what it is. And it just, I don't know, Kathy, it just happens. I had somebody earlier today ask me about, how do you teach that modality? And I said, it's not even a modality. I'm still working and doing it, but it's just, the bottom line is, even through the energy cascades, the group work is look within. And if you can't see yourself within, you can't see that light, what's there keeping, what are you holding on to?
Right. Well, I found that I realized it 20 years ago that I had similar patterns running that were the variable was I was in all of the storyline, but other players would come in and play these same roles. So I got divorced. My ex-husband, he had these attributes. Then a new boyfriend would come in, he'd have similar attributes. And then it's like, okay, I don't want that again. And it would repeat until I realized, oh, I'm calling it in.
Bingo.
But I didn't, you don't, it's hard to see it until you see it. And then once you see it, it's like, okay, time to work on myself, time to change my stinking thinking. So I'm not pulling that same storyline in, because if Shakespeare is right and all the world is a stage and we're all in a play, in my play, I kept bringing in the same actors, a different person with the same role.
Right.
Until I went, okay, it's up to it. It's me. It's not projecting it out to them. But that's where when I said that, it was like, you mean there's more? Oh my gosh. Because I thought I had done all this work 20 years ago. And but there was more. There probably still is more. So yeah, I'm surprised how we contain so many aspects of our psyche, and how amazing this journey is as a learning journey, as a way to expand consciousness. Could you talk a little bit about the soul? Because I know you work with people's soul. You really have a like laser vision to be able, like superpower vision, to be able to go, because it's so fast how you can sense the I want to call it obscuration. That's what they would call it in Saint Germain. It's in an emotional body. It's a gray obscuration, or it's a stopping of the current of energy. Could you talk a little bit about how you do that soul work, if you can explain it, and what you feel, because things are changing right now. Do you feel so? How you sense the soul, and then what you think the future holds for us to work with our soul.
And I'll try my best. Let me go back to just briefly tapping into NDE and getting this. Without going into the whole thing with NDE, the bottom line of NDE just kept coming back of me being led through and shown to souls. In other words, I was seeing all these souls that were gray, or they were darker colors. They weren't vibrant in any way. And the message I was getting, I was here to work with the souls. I was here to help them, and I was being led by someone else who I learned was Jesus, Yeshua, and I thought they were looking at him, and he kept saying, "No, they're looking at you. They're looking at you." And as a 4.5-year-old kid or 5-year-old kid, at the time that was kind of scary. But so all this work, it's going back to that. It's all emotional. And so that's what I was saying. It was like the affirmation when I saw that. It's like, okay, I'm on the right track. Even though at the time I didn't know what. I always had this feeling of I got to work on the emotions, and I never really understood why. But I do now, as I learned what my dad went through, and I see other family members how they were affected. But as far as the soul, and you made a comment about I zoom in so quickly. That also depends on how open and willing the person is. It's taken me an hour and a half to get somebody to even get close before, and I've had people that have sat down in a chair across from me and just immediately start. So it's really you. You are the healer. I'm just the guide, the counselor, or whatever you want to say, that just kind of helps you along the way. So it's where you're at, not what I'm doing is what I believe. So on a soul level, I mean, I always try to address the other things, you know, what their own, the person's own stuff, or if they're carrying baggage of a family member or something first. But um, I can't honestly say that I'm like completely tapped into souls. I'm not. I'm getting better. So what I usually do is also um, I rely on my guides and your guides, and I start trying to talk to them. It's where when it comes to that, because honestly, sometimes the soul is not fully with us because of the pain you're carrying, and they don't want to feel it again from other lives, or they just, well, that's a lot of us. What you're feeling, they don't want to do it again. There's still somewhat here, maybe like 25%. There's never a lost connection, but it's just not that flow. So I just start asking questions. But just like the individual sessions, it has to be. It's not me doing the work. It's it's I'm working with the soul, but it's you and your soul doing the work.
Yeah.
So I want the person sitting across from me or on the phone with me very interactive in this. I want them to be able to know that they can speak with their soul, they can speak with their guides, they can get their answers. And sometimes people tell me I've never been able to. That's what I think you will today, just because we've opened up that channel of willingness. And it's not me. Once again, it's the soul asking for help, or guides trying to help, and then her own intention of like, I want to hear this, I want to hear this. And so sometimes it's just yes or no answers.
That
So I
makes
just start
sense a
asking
lot.
questions, and just like the person, a lot of it, the story doesn't matter, it's the feeling. And if the person can feel it, oftentimes, once we tap into that higher self, the person often starts feeling a lot heavier, starts feeling worse, because I believe the soul has come more back into them and is letting it out too. So,
Wow.
so
Wow. That's a huge service to
yeah, it's not.
humanity.
So it's not me. I don't ever want to, because you are the healer. The person I'm working with, the healer. It's not me, and you know this, Kathy. I'm just the guide. I'm just assisting. But the more you do, the more you realize, and the more that this is you, and the more you're aware of what it is, and you're looking within, and not looking at me for the answer, or not looking outside of you.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. I find also that if your frequency is too low, the soul can't embody as much. And so that's part of what you're doing is you're bringing your frequency, and we're like tuning forks. So you bring your high frequency, and then if my frequency needs to at least come close enough to you, then the soul can be more present, because it's like a match game. It can't embody as much. There can be a silver string, but it
Right.
can't. It's
Right.
like, hey, I'm up here. Can I come down and play now? But you have to match, right?
Oh, yeah, and I will say, Kathy, also some of the individuals that I see the most, or dealt with the most attachment, is in that scenario where the soul
Way out.
is attached, but like you said, that silver string, and it's yeah, the frequency, the vibration, and what keeps us down, emotions. This life, somebody else's, or past lives.
Yeah.
It's so,
Wow. Wow. Well, I'd like to show your website so that we can talk a little bit about how you do these group healings,
okay.
and so people can also get used to going to your website, because I really hope that they see you as a powerful resource for them. So I'll scroll while you talk if you'd like.
Okay. That picture is from an event, a once-a-year event that's done here in North Carolina called Profound Sound Festival in Tarboro, hosted by Kevin and Tricia Wilson. And um, I've got that coming up in 2 weeks, as a matter of fact. Again, their annual event, and I'm going to be there all weekend. But I do one group session, and it's a little bit hard to see in the picture, but basically it's a group in a circle Sometimes if you have a lot of people, it's two circles, one inside the other. The This is the energy cascade, and what I tell people is when they get there, and I said, I don't want you to do anything. I want you just to be. You know, don't even like set intentions of what you want here or anything. Just be. Just allow. You know, don't think you got to send energy to somebody else or you got to send energy to a person across the way. Just be in this moment, because what I'm trying to get people to realize is we're all connected. And as we acknowledge that connection without actually having to do anything, the vibration of the group immediately rises. It's that oneness that comes into it. So what I'm doing there is I go around either in front of the people or behind the people in the group, and just like we were just talking about the feeling when somebody sits across from me or on the phone, I stand behind them or stand in front of them, and I feel what they're feeling of some sort. It may be in a couple of places on the body, or it could be the mind just so busy that the person is like feeling confusion or something, and I don't know what I was doing there, but essentially I'm trying to help move the energy and help awaken the person to this oneness, to everything here.
Beautiful.
And generally it starts moving. What I've seen and heard from many people over the years, and there's some at the bottom of this page, there's a person that I'm throwing a blank what I want to say, but essentially what happened with them is the bottom quote there at one of those events. It's really small fine print, unfortunately, but who just started releasing a lot of emotion in the group because he allowed it. He didn't do anything to fight it. He just allowed it. And I helped in a couple places with some back pain to move it. But once again, it's just I was helping, but the body world just needed help. The body needed help to do its thing. So those energy cascades, I'm trying to do more and more of them because I'm getting called to do more. I did one at the IANS conference in DC. I'm going to be in Virginia Beach doing one at the Body Mind Spirit Expo this weekend, and then I'm doing another one at the Tarboro at the Profound Sound next in 2 weeks, and then next month I'm in Dallas on a few. But these are group events that, you know, it's not really me. I'm assisting, but it's not me doing the healing. It's the group being one, and that oneness raises the vibration, and the healing occurs from there. But the other part of the healing is the awareness. That's when we're aware, we can allow the body to take the next step. So my goal for these energy cascades is not for them to come and think that, you know, I'm doing all this. I'm assisting this. The goal is for people to truly understand that there's this oneness. There's no separation between us and other people or the divine. So with that, then we start looking within, and we can see that lightness within. And for a lot of people who've been doing a lot of the work, their own work and releasing, this really helps them to see that, you know, what they've been searching for outside of themselves is actually in. It goes back to the I am. So it is just awareness that the oneness, the divine is I am. I am source. I am that I am. I am all that there is. Now this body can't do what the soul does, but we're still one. We can still do this kind of work with people. We can still change. We can strengthen the earth if we step away from the negativity of thinking everything's falling apart to no, this is change. This is happening. So it's just groups of people coming together, allowing, feeling a massive amount of healing energy that they are creating, but not just for themselves, but others in that group as well.
Right,
it
right,
becomes oneness.
right. Well, I love the idea that you're doing these and they're causing a consciousness change for people where they will be able to remember that frequency and how they felt in that group. Because I do think this time right now is to get us back into community, to get us back into a oneness model where we're in service to ourselves and others, not just ourselves. And the community model, I mean, during the lockdown, we were all stuck. No matter where we were constrained in our physical environments, but we also had to look at our lives. And certainly, this is conscious business owning. These conscious business owners that spend so much of their time as servant leaders, they need your kind of service to really get at the core issues quickly and release them so that they can do a better job. I believe business is going to help turn everything around, but the leadership, which is more of a team than it is of the old pyramid, even though your IM is a pyramid, but the management model is now more of a circle than it is of a pyramid. And so that leader to be able to do your kind of work in team, to have a team meeting and have a clearing for the business or for the concept or for the new launch of the new product. I mean, there's so many ways to use this wonderful energy and the identification of it to help this new time appear.
Yeah, you know that there's that one phrase that has always stuck with me. I never really knew why it always stuck with me until I got more into this work. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and we have this great idea that's within us, and we're all excited about it. For some reason, we end up way off track over here, and it's because are you being guided by that light and love that is in you and allowing it to show in other people, or you run off in fear and control or anger, and it's leading you over here. And whoever, I don't know where that comment came from, but it's like spot on. If we are holding on to stuff, if I'm holding on to stuff, Kathy, then I can't see you.
Right.
I can't sit here and listen to you or be there for you, or even open up for you to be there for me. It doesn't work. But so yeah, we as people, I think we're there. It's just we don't know.
Right. Well, the other thing that you said, the good intentions idea, is that it's time to take action. People have been talking about things like you'll go to a Christmas party and year after year someone will say, I'm writing a book, or or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. I'm building a fence on my yard. And it's like, what's the stop? Why aren't you doing it? And when you go through a process with you, it's not just physical. It can be emotional, mental. It can be whatever's stopping you, right?
Yeah. And stop
Yeah.
us in all forms. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't affected the same way. It's having a discussion earlier, and it was like, all right, what's holding this part of me back? Especially when things start coming up in dreams
Yep.
or comments or phrases you come across, and like, why does it keep coming up? It's like, well, they're trying to show you something. You and a bunch of other people are supposed to get that same message, and that's why that message is there.
Right.
And so,
I
we
believe that's divine timing, Roland. I think that everything, I mean, this whole system is so divinely designed. And before you came into physical, it is so divinely designed to drop things in exactly at the right time. And then if you don't participate, drop it in again at the right time, just like your logo. So I think we're coming to the point now where maybe we could look at this reality as for us instead of a burden, or that we're a victim of it, and the platform is like a playground, and go for it. And that's where I think your clearings could help people get to that realization really quickly. And we've got a lot of change coming right now with every system needs to be adapted to a more equitable, fair, loving way of doing life. And so we need all hands on deck to release all of these paradigms that don't work anymore, and to come up in creative play to come up with the new. So I love what you do. I appreciate you so much. We'll have to do this again. So, but thank you so much. And your humility is really amazing. You guys, just because he's humble, don't think he's not powerful. That's all I want to say, because it's remarkable what Roland can do, and so quick and so amazing. So, well, thank you, Roland. How's the best way for people to reach you?
Best way is to go through my website, inthehealing.com, inthehealinglight.com, and through the contact page, you'll be able to reach me by email at inthehealinglight.com.
inthehealinglight.com, and it's in the description, and it'll be in the comments. So please, everyone, please do yourself a favor and watch Roland, because he's just getting started. He's going to really be helping thousands of people with these changes, because he's able to do it group work, and not a lot of healers can do the group work. They can't hold their field in a big group, and Roland can. So anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.